I grew up in China. And when I was growing up, China actually was really, really poor. Remember, growing up, I really loved anything that's related to math and physics and chemistry and all these. In 1996, I think almost my senior year in college, internet came to China. And I joined a lab in my university, Beijing University. And I fell in love. And I was like, hey, this is so cool. And I could connect with so many people, and this internet thing is awesome. So I want to see the world and then decide whether I want to do a PhD or not. I think, staying physically fit and healthy is so important. And I told my team, whatever you do, stay healthy first and take care of yourself, because, tech work is really intense. I realize, people do business with you not purely because of strategy, it's because of the trust. And if you see them and build the personal touch and personal relationship, you enhance the trust and they want to do business with you. Every chip is going to be redesigned for the AI. I created a more bifurcated strategy. So I still want to focus on the strategic customers. So the moment it opened up, I started to going to China actually about every month. I love technology and I love to be able to actually participate in building something great and something innovative.
Today, we're excited to welcome Chloe Jian Ma, Vice President of China GTM for Automotive and IoT line of business at ARM.
With over 25 years of experience in marketing, business development, and engineering, she excels in developing go-to-market strategies and driving revenue growth. Her expertise spans AI, semiconductor technologies, and cloud computing. Passionate about creating value propositions, she has led global teams and formed strategic alliances.
A finalist for the Hedy Lamarr Award, she holds an MBA from Wharton and an MSc from USC. Let's dive into the conversation with her.
Hello, and welcome back to the Semiconductor Leadership Podcast, the platform that dives deep into the stories, insights, and strategies of the semiconductor industry. I'm your host, Salah Nasri, and whether you're an industry veteran or curious about the world of semiconductors, this podcast is designed to bring you valuable lessons from the brightest minds in the industry, actually. And whether we're discussing cutting-edge R&D to leadership strategies to global market trends, we will cover it all. Now, before we get started, I have a sincere favor I'd love to ask you all. Simply click on the subscribe button on the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and now we're on Apple Podcasts. In such a short time, we have got more than 2,000 followers on the show, and I'm really grateful to every single one of you. So please, the more followers we get, the more interesting and dynamic the podcast will become. And it really helps us to bring you the best discussions in the semiconductor industry. For example, our special guest today. So in today's episode, we are joined by Chloe Jian Ma. She is the VP of Go-to-Market for the IoT Business Unit at ARM. So without further ado, let's jump into the conversation. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Salah.
Absolute pleasure to have you. Chloe, I mean, look, everything has a beginning. And I always start my podcast with these type of discussions. Tell me, how was your childhood? How was life for you at the start?
So I grew up in China. And when I was growing up, China actually was really, really poor. It was in the late 1970s. And I remember when I was growing up, even food was rationed. And, we only have, this many pounds of, flour and oil every month. And remember, growing up, I really loved anything that's related to math and physics and chemistry and all these. And I spent a lot of time on those. And when I was getting ready to select universities, I was actually really confused. And because it's not like if I observe my son now, and he just has so much information available to him. But when I was growing up, China was somewhat closed. And I didn't have much information about, hey, what does biology major mean, and what does chemistry mean, and what does engineering mean? And I remember I actually was really interested in biology, and mostly because of the influence of a teacher that I really loved. So I naturally wanted to go into biology. And my parents told me, hey, biology, you might not be able to make money and support yourself. How about computer science and engineering? And, I didn't know. I just put them there. So my top choice, biology, computer science, engineering. And just by fate, I was admitted to be an electronics major, electrical engineering. And, for the first 3 years in college, I was completely lost. I was studying all these advanced mathematics and all the, for classical mechanics. But I had no idea what I could do with them. And then in 1996, I think almost my senior year in college, internet came to China. And I joined a lab in my university, Beijing University. And I fell in love. And I was like, hey, this is so cool. And I could connect with so many people. And this internet thing is awesome. And so then I didn't go the traditional route because, my friends, they're all doing hardware. But I actually did not like hardware at all. And I went down the software route. And I thought software really fits me because I actually could, if something goes wrong, I can actually make some changes and fix it and see the effect immediately. Versus in hardware, I had a significantly hard time with hardware. Like for analog design, for digital design, my design looked perfect on paper. And when I put it into implementation, they just didn't work.
It's easy to manipulate, right?
And so then I went down the software route. And right after college, I came to the US for graduate school. And it's not because I really love electrical engineering or anything. And so at the time, I think China was really opening up. And for my university, it was just a trend because everybody else is trying to go to the US for advanced education. And for me, I never left China before I came to the US. And I was always curious what the other parts of the world are like. And at the time, because China was opening up and we had more opportunity as students to actually go outside of China to study in various countries. And of course, US is the top choice. And that's how I got to the US, to USC to study electrical engineering. And I actually was in a PhD program. And my advisor in USC, I still feel so grateful for my advisor. And so in the beginning, his specialty is digital signal processing, image processing, and later computer vision and machine learning. But that was way after me. And then the first summer, the summer of 98, and he said, I have so many students and you can't stay here in the summer. I don't have money for you to support you. And you have to go out and be a summer intern. So he introduced me to this voice over IP company that his college classmates started. And for the whole summer, the CEO of that company tried very hard to convince me to quit my PhD program. And he said, there's just like a gold rush going on in the internet space. And we really need a lot of talents, and you should really come out to see, what the world is like. And that actually rang a bell for me. So I felt I still was lost of what I could do. And I love the internet, as I said. But, my advisor's field, I really don't know, what I could do. And I need to spend another 5 years to get a PhD. And I just feel completely lost. And so then after the summer, I went back and told my advisor, hey, Dr. Guo, can I maybe get a master and graduate? So I want to see the world and then decide whether I want to do a PhD or not. And I think that's kind of the really great thing I'm grateful for is my advisor said, yes, I can support you. So if you want to get a master, I'll support you. I'll still give you the financial assistance for you to finish. And I support your decision. And I feel, eternally grateful. And so in 99, I graduated and I got into the networking field because I love the internet. And it was also close to the peak of the internet bubble. Yes. And I joined Cisco in 2000. And almost immediately the market crashed.
Did you still keep your job, or did they
Yes.
got you? So you must be really good for them to keep you.
Well, I think I was young and naive and cheap. So maybe they look at it, it's like, it will save us a lot of money if we get rid of.
So was this with the Cisco WebEx, or was it Cisco hardware? No.
What?
Oh, Cisco.
Actually, I was hardcore in Cisco's networking technology. So when I first joined, it was actually in their ATM group. But I was like, oh my God, this technology is really complex. And so after a year, I decided to move to the mainstream to, anything that's related to IP, the internet protocol and the more standardized stack and the mainstream Cisco products of routing and switching. And so I did that for about 10 years. And then as I grew in technical ladder, and I feel that, I'm going really deep in some of the features in a big router. I only know very limited, space within this big product. Right. And I really had a desire to understand, hey, how is our product, is our customers actually using our product? I was just really curious. And the other thought I had was I was actually a little bored with engineering because I grew and I moved from one feature to another, and it was really not challenging for me anymore. And I wanted to expand myself to other space in Cisco, product management, technical marketing, or even testing and QA. And so I started to figure out how I can actually make a move in Cisco from software development to kind of a more broader role so that I can understand how business is run. And I actually failed so many times because initially I thought, maybe I have strong technical background. I can go to technical marketing. And so then I started to get, Cisco certifications, but then realized that, I actually only know very little and very deep about this product. I don't know how to configure a network. And then I thought, okay, let me try another route. Maybe I can go into product management to manage a specific product. And then when I interviewed internally, they told me, hey, you don't have experience and you also don't have any credential, like an MBA and etc. I was so frustrated. And I failed so many times. And I said, maybe I should just, bite the bullet and get an MBA.
This is when you went to Wharton.
Yes. And so I think after my first year in Wharton, I did an executive program. And maybe people thought, oh, this person really want to move.
When was this?
It's 2008 to 2010. Yeah.
Did you have Professor amidst?
No. They, because I did my Wharton program in San Francisco. So I selected professors over.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the, so I did mine at Stanford. So he was a former Wharton fella, and he's hilarious. One of my favorite professors. And so from that perspective, then, I mean, what were the pivotal moments that you saw at your MBA at Wharton that inspired you to continue on? Did it really help out? Was it really worth the investment in the executive program that you did?
Looking back, I still feel I benefited tremendously from my Wharton experience. And it's actually not the classes I took. I basically pretty much forgot everything, microelectronics, economics, economics, thinking, and the corporate accounting. But I think it really opened up my mind to many things. And previously, as an engineer, I only thought, oh, maybe I should go into technical marketing. I can go to product management. But after my MBA, and especially, we had a really diversified cohort from almost every discipline in finance, in technology, biology, and everything. And after interacting with them and interacting with the professors, I really felt like I could go into any field. I could go into venture. I could go into investment banking. I could stay in technology. But I actually really love technology. And to be honest, I looked down on finance a little bit in the beginning. And I felt like these people are not creating anything concrete and they're just throwing money. And later, I do realize they're very important. But for myself, I love technology and I love to be able to actually participate in building something great and something innovative. So that's why, even after MBA, I decided to still, continue in the technology field.
I see. So in your role today, for example, what does a typical day look like for you? What are the key things what do you get up to? Give us an overview of what a day looks like. Time you get up to the end of work.
Yeah, it's actually really a globalization story because currently ARM is still a UK headquartered company. So a lot of my colleagues, especially, product management and engineering, they're still in Europe. So I have to have early morning meetings with the teams in Europe to talk about, product strategy and how we work with engineering and etc. And then in the day, I interact with, partners and customers in the US. And I have actually quite a lot of, because innovation really happens in Silicon Valley. I'm always thrilled to look at so many innovative ideas from potential partners in Silicon Valley. And in the evening, because I still have my China responsibility, and I do a lot of calls with my team in China, as well as late night calls with China partners and customers. So I do want to try to balance life and work. So for dinner time, I try to reserve that with my family and my son and spending time with them. So if I can control my schedule, I would do, late afternoon calls with China, their time. So it's late night time, my time. And I'm a night owl because, I was a software engineer. So I'm completely okay with that.
How does that impact mental health to an extent with all the hours that you have to put in? I mean, it's a hard, you were basically working 24/7, theoretically. You're doing the early morning calls in the UK, and then you got the America business, and then you got the China business. That's intense.
Yes. But I always try to squeeze time in to, mostly do my exercise. And I'm quite proud that I'm able to continue with my exercise routine for maybe the last 20 years. So I try to at least do, 3 workouts a week and maybe around an hour each. And I think, staying physically fit and healthy is so important. And I told my team, whatever you do, stay healthy first and take care of yourself because, tech work is really intense. And if you don't have a healthy body and mind, you just cannot deal with the stress. Yeah.
Very, very valid point. So can you elaborate on how you drive revenue growth and build ecosystems, ecosystem partnerships in such a competitive landscape? I mean, are there any unique aspects that you see with the US IoT market, Chinese IoT market, that global businesses need to understand, basically?
So actually, ARM is my first time running an IoT business because in my career history, I was mostly infrastructure, from networking to actually semiconductor networking. So Mellanox was actually my entrance into the semiconductor industry.
Were you based out of Israel?
No, I was based in Santa Clara. So I think in some sense, Mellanox bears some similarity to ARM. Most of the engineering team and operations, and they are in Israel. But the business teams, sales, marketing, customer support, they're mostly in the US, in Sunnyvale.
Did you stay with them when they got sold to NVIDIA?
No, very sad.
Wow, okay. So then what happened?
And so then I moved from networking to compute. And so I was in Intel for a while and then joined a Silicon Valley startup called Sci5 doing RISC-V work. And then 4 years ago, I joined ARM.
Wow, okay. So you're working with Naveed Shivani.
Yes. So, in Intel, I was running basically the cloud business, the cloud marketing, responsible for cloud marketing. So it's the Intel CPU that's powering the, AWS, Google Cloud, and etc. And also, Alibaba, Tencent, and Baidu, those hyperscalers in China. And then Sci5 is, a mix because, we were really looking at, what area is good for a startup to enter. And so ARM is really my first company that I ventured into the edge and IoT market. And very quickly, I realized, my traditional way of go-to-market doesn't really work here. Because, in the infrastructure space, especially in the cloud CSP space, you have top 10 customer that will be probably 80-90% of your revenue. And as long as, you serve those customers and you satisfy their requirements, you are pretty much good. But in the IoT space, I feel like it's really tech that hit the real world because IoT goes into so many different industrial verticals, oil and gas and transportation, smart home, smart city, industrial, and etc. And naturally, it just becomes so fragmented. It's not really, 10 customer occupy the majority of my revenue. And my top 10 customer only maybe is 20-30% of my revenue. And how do I actually cover the long tail? I think that's kind of the challenge I took on. And so then I created a more bifurcated strategy. So I still want to focus on the strategic customers. So I have my top 10 strategic customers that I want to build a very, very close relationship with. So in a couple years, so this was during the pandemic, and I couldn't even go to China. And so the moment it opened up, I started to going to China actually about every month. And I try actually to be very personal because I realize, people do business with you not purely because of strategy. It's because of the trust. And if you see them and build the personal touch and personal relationship, you enhance the trust and they want to do business with you. And so I think that's what I spent a lot of time on with the strategic customers in the IoT space. But I still need to cover the long tail. And that's I do through marketing. And so I really started, basically going to a lot of events and promoting ARM's success. Because for the longest time, I think ARM is kind of like a hidden gem. And ARM is so pervasive in, from cloud to edge. But being a modest UK company, ARM did not really do a whole lot of marketing, not like Intel Inside that we had to be everywhere. But I think for IoT business, we need the marketing approach to really reach the broad long tail, especially in China. Because of Trump's first term, there was this huge boost in China semiconductor industry, especially in the startup space. And I heard some anecdotal numbers, maybe, by 2020 or 2021, there were 30,000 semiconductor startups in China. And I can go visit all 30,000 startups. So ARM's business actually was really booming in those years because ARM really had great success in rest of the world. Some of the biggest customers in IoT, ST, Infineon, NSP, and Renesas, and etc., and also our storage partners, they built their business on ARM. And what I did was, I go to marketing events. I promote the success of ARM in rest of the world to the China startups. And they're convinced. That I think that's the kind of new strategy I brought to our business.
I think one of the key things, when I started the semiconductor industry, not many know this, but I started out of China. And this was in 2010. And that is one thing I really saw that really was like a heads up notification on how to really penetrate the market in China. There's a very well-known term called guanxi. Yeah. Guanxi is the way of doing business in China. You could have an average product, and you could be having an incredible relationship with someone. And then you've got someone else who has a very good product, but doesn't have the relationship. The person with the average product, but great relationship will make the business out there. And I think that's one of the unique elements that I've kind of taken with me, not only from China, but applying that on a global perspective, whereby if I am partnering or if I have a member or someone that's working with my association, for example, I do not treat them as a transaction. I treat them as a very close friend, because at the end of the day, that friendship actually makes it very, very sure that it's going to be a win-win situation, because I don't want to break the friendship. So I have to, if I want to win, I need to make sure that they win too.
Yes, you are absolutely.
I think it's a very remarkable perspective. But what is the synergy now? I mean, you'll hear it. I mean, I was being a VC, a very well-known VC here in Silicon Valley, and he specifically said to me that if someone doesn't mention the word AI in their product portfolio, the chances of investment is really low on their side. What is the AI and IoT synergy that is happening at the moment? Could you share with us your experience with AI, machine learning, and IoT, and where do you see the biggest opportunity for convergence in this area? Or, better to question is how is Arm positioned to capitalize on these trends?
Yeah, so right now, I think very naturally, most of the investment and attention for AI is in the data center space. So this really reminded me of, when I first started my career in the internet era, and Cisco, my employer, actually was once the most valuable company in the world, probably briefly in 2000. And it was really the infrastructure construction stage to get ready for the internet boom. And right now, I think it's also the infrastructure construction stage to get ready for the even bigger AI boom. And only when we have the infrastructure, we can actually give a chance and empower the applications and AI applications, and before it was internet applications, to really flourish. And so I think it's very natural, right now, everybody is trying to rush into building, I guess, super clusters and to run AI training, because that's the foundation. If you don't have a smart model, if you don't have the infrastructure to support, token factory and, AI cloud, we won't be able to actually take advantage and allow, the development of agents and various AI applications. But I think after we get over the hump of, AI training, and when the models get to a relatively stable stage for the applications to start catching up, you're going to see the shift from, running AI training workload to running AI inference workload. And AI inference is going to be everywhere. And it's still going to be in the data center, a lot of them, but it's going to be at the edge. And edge actually brings a different cost dynamics, because, I was actually wondering why Microsoft was pushing so hard on AI PC. Microsoft has a really great cloud business. And, right now people are paying so much attention to cloud, and why do they want to do AI PC? I actually talked to some, experts in the industry, and they have some opinions I kind of agree with. And, because every time you run an AI inference, especially large language model inference in the cloud companies are probably losing money. Yeah. And because right now, the token price has gone down so much, and, the money you can make from running that inference is not as much as, how much you have to spend. But, if you get to let the users run some of the inference on the edge on the AI PC, the users actually paying for the energy cost and for the device and etc. And so that's probably why, things have to move to the edge. And when I talk to a lot of CEOs, edge AI chip, actually, they were not edge AI. They were just edge or end-device chip companies, but everybody's going to AI. And they told me they feel that, every chip is going to be redesigned for the AI age. And so that's why I think, the big opportunities is really ahead of us. And so when I look at some of the applications that really excites me at the edge, recently I've been really excited about the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, the AI glasses, because when I watched the GP4o demo, I feel that, the voice interaction part is okay. I put my phone on the table and I talk to my phone and it's okay. it's relatively natural. But when it comes to visual communication, and when I need to actually show a picture to the model, and I have to actually pick up my phone and point my phone at something, maybe point my phone at a person, that's not very natural. I don't want to, when we're talking, point my phone at you. So I think, glasses are actually more natural because they can see what I see and they can hear what I hear and they can show me right in front of my eyes, what I need to know. I'm not saying it's the only format, but I think it's a very exciting direction to be the AI assistant because I can, just wear my glasses and ask, hey, Meta, what am I looking at? And, what trouble am I getting into? But right now, after my testing, after getting my Ray-Ban Meta and did my testing, I think the AI model is still not smart enough.
Still a few more things to go. Why is it not smart enough? And what's left for it?
I think on the language side, it's pretty good. But the real gap is in physical intelligence. So one day, I was pumping a gas at a Costco gas station near Lawrence and Central Expressway. So it's near a Caltrain station. And in California, the Caltrain was just upgraded to all electric. And so I said, hey, Meta, what's the model of this train? And then he told me, I don't see a train.
Sure.
And then I'm looking at the train.
Wow.
And it said, instead, I see a car and it's Toyota. I'm like, why? I see this train right in front of my eye. So then I checked the picture. I think it's because there is also a car in the foreground. And then the train is in the background. And so, for a person, even a 3-year-old, there's no mistake that a train is coming by and is stopped there. But for maybe an artificial intelligence, it cannot really understand the 3D depths. And maybe it just took a picture. It didn't have the sound part to hear, hey, there is actually train horn. And it cannot actually segment the picture smart enough to tell me there is a train. And so that actually leads to something else. It's really, I think, a lot of innovations and smart people are actually doing physical intelligence to really get the model to understand the 3D world, the physical world we are in. And if we have some breakthrough, there is another thing that I'm really excited about, which is robotics. It's actually a very selfish reason because, I came to the US, but my parents actually refused to come here. And they would love to stay in China because all their friends are there. And I respect their decision. But the problem is they're getting older. And I really worry about them. And, how do I take care of them if they get sick? Do I quit my job and go to China to take care of them? That's, a drastic change. And I think it's probably not going to happen in their lifetime. But when I get old, I don't think I can count on my son to take care of saying, hey, I really need a robot to take care.
Yeah. Well, you can have actually a real conversation with the power of AI. Stuff like this, you can actually have a genuine conversation.
And also, I talk to people in, say, like property management in some really big real estate company. And they said, we're actually struggling to find people to clean the space because, right now we have like 50, 60-year-old ladies to do the cleaning. But once they retire, the young people, they don't want to do this. They would rather do the delivery job.
FBI internet celebrity like you.
Oh, really? That's actually a very fair point. I'd love to go and I'd love to hear from your perspective being in front line. and evidently you're doing an incredible job for ARMS. What are the most pressing technical, or let's say business challenges in IoT today? And how is ARM and how are you addressing them?
Yeah, so I think first foremost is actually AI. Because IoT is not like a data center. So in data center, it's relatively homogeneous. And, previously it was mostly running Intel servers. And now, I think ARM servers is really making a lot of progress and huge momentum. But it's still relatively simple. It's server and storage and networking. But at the edge, there are just like so many different devices. And so now, every one of our customers, they want to add AI capabilities into their existing product portfolio. And over the last few years, because AI didn't just happen today, AI actually happened, from the early 2000s, from, ImageNet and, computer vision and etc., smart audio. And when people look at chip designers, they look at adding AI capability and adding the AI accelerator, they feel that, the NPU, the AI accelerator, is actually quite easy. I can design it myself. So as a result, a lot of our customer, using ARM CPUs, actually started to design their own AI accelerator because it's easy to do. But after a few years, they realized that designing the hardware is easy, but actually getting the software ecosystem to use your hardware is 100 times more difficult. So that's actually ARM, where ARM can really help. Because we do also have an AI accelerator IP that we can license to our customers. And it's gaining a lot of momentum, Infineon and Renesas, and I think they're all licensees of our NPU. And we're expanding that. But more importantly, we're pouring more resources into actually building the software ecosystem on top of the AI accelerator hardware. And so I think that's what's going to differentiate ARM. And that's, how we're going to win in this space. It's our heavy investment into the software ecosystem and the work we're doing with TensorFlow Lite, PyTorch, ExecuTorch, and in China we're working with Paddle and Alibaba's MNN and etc. And I think all these work that we do with the software ecosystem in AI is going to help us shine. And the other key aspect is security. So normally in a data center space, it's locked up. All the data centers, they have physical security and etc. But IoT is in the wild west out there, right? I can, put a lock on every single tiny little device out there. But then, if everybody wants to run some AI, and AI means data. And, once there is more intelligence at the edge, the value of data is going to continue to increase. So I want to use, smart home as an example. I actually think, for years and years, people dream about our homes becoming smarter, but it never really happened. It's still very fragmented. I think a year or two ago, I still need to download 5 apps to control all the light bulbs in my home. And I hate that. I actually stopped using that. But the reason I think a lot of people are concerned about smart home is, right now for smart home security, we have the cameras, but the camera feed, all the information gets passed on to the cloud and to Google Cloud and etc. Do we really trust them? I think a lot of people still don't trust, an outside vendor to manage our privacy. But I think with AI and edge computing, there's a great opportunity for smart home. You can actually put a device at home to capture all your sensor feeds and just do the processing there. And I think, large language model and, physical intelligence is going to help a great deal to actually make our homes smarter. And hopefully, with the advent of robots, and our home can serve us more automatically. Yeah. So then with that, I think security becomes really, really important. And that's another heavy investment from ARM side. Yeah.
So looking at your insights in the semiconductor industry, notably, I want to talk about the Chinese semiconductor landscape. As someone that's, of course, has experience, like myself, being deeply immersed in the China semiconductor market, how do you see the current state? I mean, now with Donald Trump coming into power next year and all the tariffs that are going to come into place, what's your gut instinct? And I'm not asking you in terms of what's ARM's perspective. I'm asking from your personal perspective, where you feel the future trajectory of the industry is going to be at, especially in light of this geopolitical situation.
So, I was born and I grew up in China, and my parents are still there. So I feel, China is near and dear to my heart. And at the same time, I've been living in the U.S. and actually all my career, I've been working in the U.S. and getting educated in the U.S. and I'm a U.S. citizen. I think both countries are near and dear to my heart. And actually, I feel in semiconductor technology, U.S. and China are actually quite complementary. Although, right now, U.S. and China are butting heads. And when I look at it, U.S. has a clear advantage in innovation and creating the cutting edge and most innovative technology. And China is really good at making things really cheap and churn out devices really fast and making things at scale, because of the advanced device manufacturing. So I actually think at the people level, the humanity level, if I talk to, people in the US and people in China, I think they actually share a lot in common because we are all human beings. And there is still a desire to collaborate. And, if the US has some way to leverage the cheap edge semiconductors, for your earpiece and for some smartphone sensors. And I don't actually think, the US semiconductor company want to do that because we just cannot do that at a very low cost. And why not let China or some other Asian country or even Middle Eastern countries, why don't we let them do that? And so for China right now, it feels that it doesn't have a choice because of all the restrictions being put onto the semiconductor industry. So in the beginning, it was really a boost to rush to, investing in heavy, this deep tech and semiconductor and the whole supply chain. I think you were right in the middle of that. But I feel that ultimately some kind of global collaboration to complement each other would be really, really useful. It is like right now, I think the US is really fighting inflation. And if there's no source of cheaply manufacture various goods that the US needs, it will be really, really hard to control inflation. And if there's somehow, but I completely understand that the US has a concern around information security. And especially when devices get smarter. And if can I really trust the chip that's being designed in China? So that's why I think, some kind of maybe ARM processor, because, ARM is in a very relatively neutral area in Europe. And it's such a universal and pervasive architecture and design. And if some trust can be put into ARM processors, China chip designers, they can use ARM processors and maybe the rest of the world would have more trust. Hey, the intelligence is happening in ARM, an architecture that we trust.
That's it. Very well answered, by the way. Very well structured. Very impressive. So from your perspective, then, is that clearly ARM, its positioning is very neutral, right? But looking at your whole experience from the beginning to where you are now, when I did the numbers, it's maybe more than 25 years of experience here. What are the most important lessons you've learned in terms of navigating a career in tech? Because as far as I know, it's very challenging even today. And I love the work that some of my complementary association colleagues are doing in terms of promoting women in technology and women in leadership. What advice do you have? What important lessons have you learned?
I myself have gone through a lot of twists and turns. So looking back, I think it's important to really first know yourself and understand where your strength is at and know, where your passion is. So, in the early part of my career, because I'm an immigrant and I have to make sure, I can stay here. So there is a very set route to achieve that goal. So in the early part of my career, it was more about, hey, when I graduate, can I actually find a job that sponsors my H1? And when I get my H1, can I actually get a green card so that I can permanently stay here and work here? And so, in the beginning, I didn't really think much because there is a set route that I have to get there before I can think about anything else. And so after I got there, then I started thinking, how do I advance my career? And I actually fell into the trap. I don't know if it's a trap. In the middle part of my career, I was chasing money. I just wanted to make more money. And any place that can offer me higher title, better money, I'll go for it.
Fair play. Sounds really fair. We're all there for earning. Money is the byproduct of the passion at the end of the day. So that's a happy life.
Yes. So I did make some progress in that. So then that got me to now. And so in the last few years, I've been doing some soul searching. And I actually feel like, money is important, but maybe, now I have enough money to get by. What's next? I really want to work on something I truly believe in. And that's why I said, the reason I want to work on a robot is very selfish. I want something that can take care of me. And I want something that can, actually help us to do the dangerous work and the chores that I don't want to do.
There'll be a lot of happy families out of that situation, that's for sure.
Yeah. But I actually think it's not very easy. Sometimes, in the beginning, I had no time to think about what my strength is. I have to just do whatever I need to do to make money and be able to not be laid off and stay in my job and excel at my job and etc.
But as a female leader in a traditionally male-dominated industry, and what I would love to know is what were the lessons or what is the advice that maybe you would give to another woman who is aspiring to leadership roles similar to yourself in the semiconductor industry?
So I think, all the effort to get girls into the STEM field is really important. For some reason, I guess, when I was going through my schooling, I was naturally attracted to STEM.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
What was the percentage of women in your class when you were doing STEM?
Actually, in high school, it was maybe around 50-50, but it was not. So in China, it works this way. So in high school, it's 3 years of high school. So in the beginning, everyone is mixed. And then maybe after a year and a half, they split into a cohort of natural science and cohort of social science. And so in my high school of 8 classes, 7 of them are natural science and 1 is social science. So most of the people, somewhat, they take the engineering or science route. And in my college, so I did electronics, and we had 70 people in the cohort and 6 women. 6. So it's about 1 to 10. And I think that's about the right ratio through my engineering career. And so I think that goes back to, finding your strengths and something that you're really passionate about. Because I feel that sometimes when women speak up about a new idea and proposal, naturally, just people throw more doubts at us. And if you don't have that conviction and that persistence and that grit, you'll immediately be shut down, probably. But I learned a couple things in my engineering career. So one is, when I was a very junior engineer in Cisco, I was really hesitant to speak up because I felt like everyone else is better than me. And if I ask a question, do I actually interrupt their flow? And I might slow them down. And maybe, I should just take that question and go do my own research. And then a few years down the road, I was in the room with a distinguished engineer in Cisco. And he's someone I really admired. And we were discussing something. I have no idea what we were discussing. But then he asked a really dumb question. A very entry-level question. I was like, thank you, David, because I really don't understand that either, but I dare not ask. And as it turned out, nobody could answer that question. And it just basically, it told me that, maybe there's no adult in the room who knows everything. And if I don't ask that question, I actually slow myself down because I ended up wasting more of my time trying to do it myself versus, exchanging ideas with people in the room and with my team. So I think that lesson really taught me, don't be afraid to ask questions and express your thoughts. And then later on, I think when we were trying to solve a technical problem, I had a disagreement in terms of methodology. Again, with another very senior guy, my coworker. And I really didn't know. I just had this gut feeling that my way is correct. But I had no proof to convince him. So this dragged on for a few months. And eventually, I think it really occurred to me, I suddenly found the proof that I needed. And I presented that to him, and I think he agreed with me. And I was really happy, that I actually stuck with my gut feeling. And my gut feeling was correct. And I think all these little things really helped me build up my confidence to be able to, speak in front of maybe all male room. And now, when I go into a customer meeting, probably 90% of the time, I'm the only female there. But I think I have enough confidence that, I know my stuff and I can sit at the same stage to have a conversation with them.
Yeah. That's competence. Wonderful. I mean, Chloe, it's been a remarkable discussion. I sincerely, thank you for your guidance. I think for many women out there, you are regarded as an inspiration for many. And I really wish you all the best. And, we have a tradition on the show whereby the last interviewee leaves a question for the next one. So the last interviewee left you this following question. Is that from the next 10-year horizon, how many of the self-reliant nations that are trying to do semiconductor manufacturing will succeed? And who would you think is likely to reach this success to achieve in reliance and self-sufficiency in semiconductor manufacturing?
That's a really tough question. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do see a lot of activities happening. And I think in this sense, I actually have some agreement with Naveed Shavani. So he was my boss at Sci5. And he always had this dream of technology democratization, democratize technology to everyone. And so I feel that I think China has the opportunity, although there is still, this is an uphill battle for China to be able to be self-sufficient. I think US has an opportunity, and US is like really advanced in chip design and all the innovation, high performance computing, but the manufacturing side, is still being built, I think, by, the current administration and everyone here. I think US has solid foundation, and with more automation in semiconductor manufacturing, I think US can get there in a different way. And strangely, I also feel that maybe the Middle East has a chance. I actually, I've been to UAE once, probably in my Wharton years. This was a Wharton consulting project. It was an oil and gas engineering consulting project. I knew nothing about it before I got into that project. And I think recently Naveed told me about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And I actually, when I looked into it after talking to Naveed, I really admire the leadership's determination to change how the country is run from an oil-based industry to maybe more a technology-driven industry. And I think that determination and the way that they enable the country and region to be really open to, different countries and different technologies, and get the technology companies to be easier to land in the Middle East. And I think that's really going to be helpful. And so that's why I feel we have a chance.
Well, yeah, that was a bit of a surprise for me too. I mean, they have their challenges, but I think they're like you mentioned. I mean, now the semiconductor industry has become a national sovereignty situation, and it's mandatory to be driven by government and the government support. They seem very keen.
But I heard another opinion that I thought is really interesting. And it says, it's not independence and self-sufficiency that makes the world safe. It's interdependency that makes the world safer.
Very profound. Very, very profound statement.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chloe.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me.
To discuss it. And I will definitely get you on the next podcast, and we'll get even more deeper with some of the topics. Thank you so much.